Hello everyone, once again, and welcome back to PAX and Recreation. And today we're going into the cowboy side, and we're going to tackle the commander decks for Outlaws of Thunder Junction, which I have to admit that for the longest time I've been referring to as Outlaws at Thunder Junction. And oops. So there are 4 commander decks as per usual. Less than a month, or exactly a month, passed since the last set of commander decks, which was the Fallout one, which I kind of enjoyed. I have to say, there are not enough Friday Night Magics or Commander Sundays, or I don't know, whichever day it is that you have to play Commander at your LGS, to try all the decks without dedicating a bunch of hours and looking like a psycho trying to play as many games as you can to test everything. And I have to force my friends at gunpoint, sometimes my family as well, to try to test all of these in time as they are released, play with them, then have a formulated opinion, and then get the second set to open in front of the camera, and so on so far. So, in case you're new to this, Outlaws at Thunder Junction is the cowboy set, even though technically is not the cowboy set, is more the villain set. It was described as such by Mark Rosewater. Is like about villainy and doing bad things, I guess, and you kind of can tell some of it by looking at the themes of the deck. You have 4 decks, most of them 3 colors, 1-2 colors, and we will address that in a second. And in this ever so more thin and small, like thinner and smaller format for the deck boxes, and every time with less things to look at the back. And this time is kind of foily, which you can see by the reflection, which is interesting. And we're going to address this in a second. This is one of those things that I only care about. Like, you can get these 4 decks in a very small box, because I mean, they are not as big as they used to be anymore. Now, for comparison, this is one of the boxes for the commander deck before, and as you can see, it's a big boy, and it's a big boy. So, like, there is a lot of things happening here. And yes, with this one, or the second format of boxes, or even the third format of boxes, a lot of space was wasted. Even with the more recent, more modern sizes, like this one was clearly oversized, and most of the size of this was because of the deck box, which they just evolved into one that you can fold, and therefore this gains. And imagine the box in which this comes. And then this middle format, which also comes with a foldable box, but in the case of Universes Beyond, they come like this, which I guess is to do a double showcase. But for Magic, the only one that came like this is Master's Machine, and it was because it came with the Plane Chase cards. This doesn't have any Plane Chase cards, and this doesn't either. So we lost the big face commanders, and today we are losing something else, which is going to be funny when I show you in a second. Now, so for the longest time, commander decks came with that oversized card that you saw. Now, I can't find any of mine that is already open for some cosmic reason, so we're going to use a dungeon card. A dungeon card is the same size. It's not as big as a Pokemon oversized card, because if you look at a Pokemon oversized card, and I will show you in a second, this is a Pokemon oversized card. So as you can see, way bigger than a Magic the Gathering card, is bigger than the box. So yeah, Pokemon has a different approach to this, and people don't play with that. Pokemon also doesn't have a format like Commander, which I don't know. And we used to have these oversized cards for the commanders. This was nice, this was collectible, and if you wanted to be like, oh, I call my commander, boom, obviously it wouldn't be in with your deck, but that was part of the fun. Like, you don't mix it with your deck, oversized card. Now, there was a problem to this, and is that it was very painful to carry around. So yeah, reasonably, you wouldn't see a lot of people playing with these when they have to move around. Now, then we moved into the thick commander cards, which, you know, this is, why is this double sleeve? Because I am sick. But basically, these is a thick commander card, is a proxy that you can only use as like, this is my commander card. It's only if you want them to be, to have a big thick card on the side so you never mix it with the rest of your deck or something. One idea that I read in a comment on a YouTube video not so long ago was, the reason, the thing I like to do with this is I kept all of these on the side and I just shuffle them, and the one that I pull is the deck that I'm going to play that night. And it's like, that's actually a great idea. And this is kind of a less collectible thing, but it's also a nice thing to have. I think some people like them, but overall people don't use them. It's like whatever. It's like a repeated card that you can't really use. And when the card is on display, which, you know, in boxes like the Doctor Who one, or the old format of Commander boxes, you know, the big chunky ones, you had the cards on display here. So, and the cards are on actual size. So what you could do is you can cut it. You can just cut it. And if you want to have a chunky proxy, you could have 3 times the same commander. I mean, for what? I don't know. God knows. But you could do it. Now, they keep removing stuff and options from us. And now, obviously, the package is thinner. They can send a lot more stuff in the same container size. But you also don't have such a big of a preview. It's kind of a disappointing thing. And why I'm bringing this up, because these babies right here don't come with a plastic commander. They don't come with an oversized commander. They just come with the commander, as you will expect. The commander and the second commander, or the optional commander, or co-commander, whatever you want to call it, in foil. There is one new thing that I will show you in a second, but yeah, they are just giving us less and charging us the same, and sometimes more, which is not great, Wizards. So, going back to the theme, Thunder Junction. So, Cowboys. The themes here are basically Mardu, Treasure / Outlaws Tribal, which we'll address in a second. Then Grand Larceny, which is about stealing cards, but not really. See in a second. Desert Bloom, all about lands, and Quick Draw, which is a deck in itself, and we'll talk about it in a second. Now, let's go in alphabetical order. So, DGMQ, right? So, let's start with the Mandalorian deck. Why I am calling this the Mandalorian deck, you'll see in a second. So, because, I mean, it's pretty obvious why I'm calling this the Mandalorian deck. The Mandalorian is a Western, disguised as a Star Wars series. And this is a Magic the Gathering Western. Being like, yeah, this is the Mandalorian. So, there you go. All about discard lands, grow them back. Seems like an interesting theme. I was actually kind of excited about this one. Bring life to the desert, the preview of the card, Yuma Proud Protector, which literally is the Mandalorian. And then it still has the collector booster. As a note, I am only going into detail for this one, the first one, and then for the other ones we just open them faster. Stay Sharp, Little Cowpoke, which, nice. And I have this thing here that's supposed to be for pulling, but it's not, so whatever. There you go, nothing here. The Magic Envelope, because you get it, Magic the Gathering, so nothing here. The deck box. The deck box, as usual, comes with, you know, so it's a deck box, quotations, big quotations. You can use it if you don't have anything else. I mean, as a starter pack is okay. The art is right here, it's cool. The life counter, now the life counter I'm getting more and more disappointed because, I mean, at least give me the art of the commander or the secondary art, because normally you have 2 arts for the commander. One is here and the other is on the insert, which we will check in a second. Now, as for tokens, we get less and less interesting tokens each time, and this time it's just a bunch of +1/+1s, which, I mean, is what the deck can do, I guess, and some mini dividers. Not much pointing here, really. So let's put this on the side, and envelope here. We will open the preview. Here you have the deck with the commander. I think you can already see the new thing on the block. Life counter is whatever. I don't know. It's like the most boring life counter ever. I mean, I don't think anyone uses them, but at least give me cool art. That way, it's just I don't know. And then you have the insert. We do love inserts in this channel, so you have on one side, you have the commander, and on the other side, you have the secondary commander, or co-commander, you're gonna call it. So on the main side, you have Desert Bloom playing the deck, how you play the deck, and then you have the co-commander there. Thunder Junction deserts, or deserts? The deserts. Thunder Junction deserts? Damn, now I have a linguistic loop. Well, maybe dry and vast, but they are full of some of the most beautiful and powerful landscapes, which, sure, why not? So this is all about when lands have the desert subtype, you can do stuff with them. And that's okay, you have the rules of Commander, more or less, nice art, and then on the other side, you have the context for Yuma, which is the Mandalorian. Get to Thunder Junction looking for a new start, from an injunction for a crime family, a new cabana. Well, this is pretty much the Mandalorian. When the directions, if you want to read it, please pause and read it. Or if you want me to read it to you, just write it in the comments and I can be like, Yuma, proud protector. Yuma came to Thunder Junction looking for a new start. Or whatever archetype of voice. Now, one thing here is that I miss from the Universes Beyond is that they don't bother to explain why the colors are the way they are. It's like, yeah, that's the character. Thank you, bye. Now, for the collector sample, if you're new to this, well, this is literally just a sample. You get 2 cards, try to bait you into buying collector boosters for special treatments. So Braska joins up and skewer the critics in this new, how do you call it, newsletter or newspaper style thing. So I don't dislike it, but it's kind of confusing. If with the recent sets, if you just bring a bunch of them to the party, it's very, like, so a lot of these cards with special treatments, it's very difficult to tell which game you are playing and which card is what color and what not. So it gets iffy. Now, for the deck itself, let's talk about the deck. Now, first thing they're going to realize is, well, we no longer have our plastic commander. And as Aqua said, life in plastic is fantastic. So without plastic, no life is fantastic. It's just life. So the thing that we're dealing with here is why they remove the plastic commander. Even though I'm not the biggest fan, I mean, I don't use them very much. If you remove something, give me something else. Well, apparently what they're giving us is that the main commander now is wide art, which admittedly, it makes sense that the main commander has some sort of special treatment beyond being foil. And, you know, but that means that the secondary commander kind of looks weird. So we'll talk about this in a second. And you have this, so they can give us a non-foil copy of the commander, but they can give us this. So even though no one cares about that, like if I'm buying this, I already know, whatever. So the tokens are here as usual. Let's look at the tokens first to have an idea of what this deck is about, or try to guess, right? If you want to play this game. So insects, elementals, angels, plant, sand warrior, zombie, ox, plant warrior, treasure, dragon egg, dragon, plant warrior, plant, and then the 3 bounties. Now, as you can see, this deck is all over the place. It's kind of some elementals, some plants, but you will see in a second what I mean. And you have this new type of card that is called a bounty. So you have these cards here. This is kind of a sub-game to have. This applies to all the decks, right? So stay with me. This is kind of a sub-game to have where you put these cards on the side. So before the game, shuffle at least 6 unique bounty cards into a face-down pile. At the starting player's 3rd turn begins, reveal the top bounty card. Claim the revealed bounty during your turn and collect your rewards. As each turn begins, if no bounty is being offered, reveal the next one. If the pile is empty, shuffle all the claimed bounties to restock. If the bounty went unclaimed last turn, increase its reward to the next level. So rewards: 1. Create a treasure token. 2. Create 2 treasure tokens. 3. Create 2 treasure tokens or draw a card. And 4, max, create 2 treasure tokens and draw a card. So you have this here, and the bounty normally is as follows. Bounty, Lord Fagel. At the beginning of your end step, if a land card was put into your graveyard from anywhere this turn, collect your reward. Bounty, Pow, Fleeting Future. At the beginning of your end step, if there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, collect your reward. And Bounty, Vara Beth Hanifer. At the beginning of your end step, if the nearest opponent to your right as the turn began was dealt combat damage this turn, collect your reward. Now, every deck has, you will see, the cards as well. And these are nice. These, I want, like, what's your take on this? So my opinion on this is that, for example, I like the Plane Chase cards, but I almost never played with them. I played 2 times, and those were the 2 times that I managed to convince my table to play with Plane Chase cards, which it's okay. It was similar to like the time that I managed to convince them to play the Ravnica Cluedo edition thing, which we're going to have a video on, because God, did I play a lot of that. It's okay, but people normally just want to play Commander, and like Commander is a very egotistical is not the word I'm looking for. It's very selfish in the sense that people normally just want to play with their deck. Like, I build my deck and I just want my deck to do stuff, and I don't want you to attack me because I want my deck to do stuff. We have 40 life points because we want time to do stuff, and all the synergies are because I want to do stuff and I want to win by doing my stuff. So that's why people don't like land destruction, because you are stopping them from doing their stuff. People just want to do their own little game on their side and then just pew the others as much as possible. That's how it works. But, and please observe this, when you play Commander, you will realize that people just really want to build their own castle of cards on their side and then try to win against the others. These extra games are okay, but people normally don't care. And even though this is less invasive than Plane Chase, because Plane Chase are big cards, which is a gimmick, and then you have to have the die, and then you have some cards from those decks that actually talk about the Plane Chase card, which make them worse cards, because if you're not playing with Plane Chase, those cards are just super meh. This is more interesting, that since it forces you to some behaviors if you want to have more treasures, and the treasures just give you more fuel to go faster. So this is interesting, but I don't think no one is going to care about this. Like, I don't know. I like the idea, but if the trade-off was these 3 cards for the Plastic Commander, just give me the Plastic Commander back. I mean, this is a nice idea, but I don't know. At least in my groups, which I play in multiple groups, no one cared about these cards. And I tried. God knows I tried. So, yeah, there is that. Now, let's talk about it. This applies to all the decks. Let's talk about the deck itself. Now, let's look at this commander. Yuma Proud Protector. For 5, 1 red, 1 green, 1 white, you have a legendary creature, Human Ranger, for 6/6 that says this spell costs 1 less to cast for each land card in your graveyard. So that's not bad. And whenever Yuma Proud Protector enters the battlefield or attacks, you may sacrifice a land. If you do, draw a card. Okay. And then whenever a desert card is put into your graveyard from anywhere, create a 4/2 green plant warrior creature token with reach, which, okay, you already see the loop of this commander, right? Like, it's cheaper if you already have stuff in your graveyard, so you want to mill yourself. Now, milling yourself with red, green, and white is doable, but, you know, and then when it enters the battlefield or attacks, you may sacrifice lands, so you want to put lands there as fast as possible, just to sacrifice them. You will get cards, and then whenever you either mill yourself or do this, you create a plant warrior that is kind of, you know, good attack right there, like 4/2. Besides that, this card doesn't have that much going for it. It's a 6/6, yes, but it doesn't have any protection abilities or anything special. So it's very likely that since it's kind of expensive, although you get cheaper the more lands you have in the graveyard, and that 1 less, I think, does it apply to the commander's tax? I don't think so. But it's a commander that is kind of powerful. You don't want to swing it with it because you don't want to risk it. You just want it to be there and kind of quiet. So the deck is all about that, and you will see as I show you the cards. Now the co-commander is a thing. So Kiri, Talented Sprout, is for one red, one green, one white, is a legendary creature, plant druid, is a 0/3 and says other plants and tree folk you control get +2/+0. At the beginning of your post-combat main phase, return target plant, tree folk, or land card from your graveyard to your hand. So you can see that these two are similar, but they are really not striving for the same. So one wants you to kill your own lands so that you can create warriors, and the other is telling you that it's more of a synergistic thing, a tribal thing with plants, and everything that went to the graveyard, you can bring it back to your hand. So it's trying to do the opposite. They can work together to a degree, but they really don't talk to each other because like deserts are not, plant, tree folk, or well, they are lands. Sorry. So like they can work together, but it feels like they should have partner, which will be actually on theme because, right? I mean, it's not the same creature, but, right? I mean, it will be a very good partner. I mean, and you will be like, oh, that will be overpowered. It's not. We will talk about other decks that are overpowered. So that's what the deck is trying to do. Now, does the deck achieve it? Well, they try. They have all these lands out, deserts. It's kind of okay. So you have a bunch of cards that are like, well, you can return permanents from the graveyard, which is okay, but you really just want the ramp. You want to ramp because you want to either, like with the colors you have and the cards you have here, milling yourself is not the main strategy. The main strategy is have them on the battlefield and then sacrifice them, the lands. So you see, Onmath, Locus of Rage, which is a fairly used commander on its own, it's here. Just being like, yeah, we can do that. Descend upon the Sinful. I think this is for Innistrad, right? So yeah, because Delirium, that's for Innistrad. So exile all creatures, and then you create, so kind of a board wipe, trying to exile everything. Chromatic Lantern, which is okay here for reasons. Martial Anthem, not bad. So multi-kicker, because everything is kicker. And a lot of +1/+1s. You can return up to extra creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Like, the deck is, as is usual with Wizards, the deck is trying to do two things at the same time. And sometimes even three things at the same time. And that's what kills this deck, in my humble opinion. So, and this is a topic in itself. Wizards. I get it that the PreCons are PreCons. I get it that the reason why you sell this is to get more people into Magic the Gathering. Or established people like myself to be like, oh, I like that theme. Oh, I like that character. I like that mechanic. Or maybe, oh, that deck is worth it. See, return target card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So there is a good synergy here with Idani. Like, Commander decks normally are one of the best products, well, actually the best product that Magic the Gathering has. Like, without a doubt. Now, my problem here is this is kind of another commander that you can have as well, which is Hazazon, Shaper of Sand, like same color identity, human warrior. It has Desert Walk, which seems like a very, useful thing to have. The problem is that the others are not going to have this deserts, right? So you may play desert lands from your graveyard, that's very good, and whenever a desert enters the battlefield under your control, create 2 1/1 red, green, and white Sand Warrior creature tokens. So this, to a degree, this seems like the love child of the actual commanders of the deck, but, kind of in the middle, which is interesting to say the least. I think that's the problem that just hits this deck, and it's a problem that I see, I think it's the philosophy from Wizards, which is Wizards obviously is not going to make you a super duper mega useful and valuable commander deck because they want to charge you like 50 or well, technically it's 45, but there is no MSRP, there's no recommended price, right? So it can be whatever. But they want to charge you, I don't know, 45, 40, 50 bucks, 60 maybe even, or if it's Commander Masters, God knows what, 80 bucks plus for a deck. And you look at the deck and you go like, oh, I like the theme. Now, there are multiple types. Oh, the Soul Ring is nice. There are multiple types of people here that are, when it comes to a Commander deck, right? For example, when I look at a Commander deck, my philosophy is, do I like the theme? Be it the flavor theme, for example, oh, this is about the Mandalorian and plants, right? Or be it the mechanical theme. So this is about desert lands. It's like, oh, okay, interesting. If I like one of those two, I will likely buy the deck. So, and even more with the mechanics, which is what happened with one of my favorite precons, if not my favorite precon, which is the timey-wimey one. So if that's the case, okay, let's go, right? But some people buy the Commander decks as some sort of build kits for other decks, or even just to, do the math and be like, okay, this deck is going to cost me 45. If I buy it on release and I sell this, and this, I can actually recoup my investment, and then I just want this card and this card. So, then I keep some extra lands or whatever. Like, some people just use them for that. And yes, Wizards knows about that, and that's why they include from time to time like cool reprints and stuff like that to bite people into buying the decks, because sometimes the decks don't hold themselves. It's not a coincidence that sometimes the weakest decks are the ones that have the best reprints, because, well, we have to make for it one way or another. So and that's why sometimes you have better land mana base, and sometimes you have a worse one, and it also has to do with the contracts that Wizard has with the companies for Universes Beyond, because they want the deck to be good. It's similar to Rocket League, where every company wants their card to have the same hitbox as the main card, which I forgot the name of, because that's the card that everyone uses. So, even if the card doesn't match that hitbox, here is the same. It's like, well, if you want to make a deck of, I don't know, Warhammer or Doctor Who or whatever, it has to be good, right? You're not going to do a bad deck for an IP that is not yours, because then you have problems. So, but when it's their own IP, they do whatever they want. So this deck, as you could see for the cards it has some deserts there, but it's all about mana ramp and just bringing lands back from the graveyard and trying to do stuff with it. I don't feel the deck is heavy enough, because it's trying to do multiple things at the same time, and that's why I'm talking about this, which is, I don't know what Wizards' intention with these decks is. If the intention is this is something to play right off the box, you can play with it. I don't think you're going to have much fun with it, because it's very slow. Like, it doesn't have the speed of ramp that you need. It's okay. It's not bad by any means. It's just okay. I mean, you really need to like the theme of like plant warriors and stuff like that, because it's okay, right? That's the whole yada yada here. It's just okay. So why build a deck that is just okay? And you can be like, well, it's a precon. Precons have power levels 3 to 4, right? Like, precons are just for you to start playing. And it's like, yes, but there are precons and precons, right? Like, sometimes you want a good precon to just play with your friends that maybe have better decks, or just upgraded precons. You just buy it, you want to play right off the box. But apparently, that's not what Wizards wants, because they keep doing these decks with two commanders, which strive for different things. And I understand that the card is not going to be the same. You don't want twice the same card. I mean, why would you have that? But at least have compatible things. These two are not that incompatible, but it does feel like they are striving for different things inside the deck, and therefore the deck is divided between the two of them. So actually, I think that a better option for a commander is the third commander that is in there that I showed you, because, it's just kind of there. And that's something that actually kind of bothers me. It's like, what's the objective? Why are we trying to build? Is half and half deck? Like, what's up with that? And that theme is also reflected here to a lesser degree, but here it is. So Grand Larceny, black, green, blue, steal cards, generate mana. So this, in concept at least, it's all about stealing stuff from other players, which, you know, they are going to love it, and which no one loves. And Wizards is actually very careful about that. By the way, I forgot to mention this is a cactus, and it's amazing. So, Grand Theft Desperado, because Auto had copyright. So, same logic here, right? So, as I said, I'm going to go into full details for all of it. Like we're going to go into detail for the decks and like more of a comparative review in the end, right? This one, in terms of tokens, again, +1/+1. Not the most exciting decks, I know, in terms of counters, not tokens, counters. The deck box, also kind of disappointing. Yes, you have the cactus here, and you have the dude here. It's okay. You will see again the life counter. It's okay. That's like an ongoing theme here, which is it's okay. So here our commander is Gonti, Canny Acquisitor, and let's see the insert, because we do love inserts in this channel. So let's see. Same logic, co-commander on one side, commander on the other. Grand Larceny, playing the deck. So once a thief, always a thief. Visiting from Girapur city, Gonti is Thunder Junction. So apparently, according to the lore, Thunder Junction is now one of the middles of the multiverse, because everything, well, that's why it's at Junction, right? Everything goes in there and it's kind of stable, and the Omen paths don't move that much. So you're supposed to just steal cards from the other players and use them. And your commander is Gonti, Canny Acquisitor. A wealth of stable Omen paths appear in and out around the city of Girapur after the Phyrexian War, and blah blah blah. Right? Believe it or not, I do read this when I buy the playtest decks. I do read this, and I actually enjoy the lore of Magic the Gathering, even though Wizards doesn't, and they think that no one does. So now for the random part of this, again, please remember, this is random. You're not going to likely get the same thing that I'm pulling. So Laughing Jasper Flint in full art, and Clear Shot. Nice looking, it's almost a mirror. But again, I don't especially enjoy this type of card, but yeah, nice. So there is that. Now for the deck itself. If I can open it with gloves, which is, you know, it's a sport in itself, you should try it. Plus because technically this thing has a spot that you're supposed to just pull, and the thing comes with your finger. It's somewhere in here. It doesn't want to cooperate. I remember one time in a video, by trying to do this, I actually the glove gave up first, rather than the plastic, and then this happens. So to all of you that say like, where the gloves, is like, well, if you know the lore, it's because I have ugly hands. But beyond that, is because I'm a collector. I'm a serious person. You're supposed to treat this with respect. They're like, dude, you're opening a PreCon. Come on. It's like, you're right. At this point, it's more of an identity thing than anything else, but it is a pain in the ass for a lot of products. Amongst them, this, like, look at this. I still haven't got rid of it. You really need to static electricity. Look at this. The amazing adventures of reviewing a deck. There you go. So, commander, co-commander, the insert card that no one cares about, sadly, for better or worse, and the tokens. So let's see what tokens are here, and let's see what the deck is all about. It's about stealing cards, right? So Thopter. Actually, let's do it. Thopter, Manifest. A Manifest is a creature that you can cover a face-down manifested creature with this reminder card. So you will see why in a second. Thopter, Treasure, Boar, Manifest Boar, Treasure, Eldrazi Scion, which is like, okay, Manifest, Eldrazi Scion, Treasure, and more bounty cards, which, as you can see, different bounties, different deck. Same logic, in this case is the Outsider. At the beginning of your end step, if you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand this turn, collect your reward. Goratash and Silas, at the beginning of your end step, if all opponents were dealt combat damage this turn, collect your reward. And Frankie the Fang, at the beginning of your end step, if the player with the most life or tied for most life as the turn began was dealt combat damage this turn, collect your reward. So again, nice, and yes, you need 6, so technically you need two decks from Thunder Junction to do this. If you actually manage to have 6, or even have more than 6, it's actually pretty cool. I think it's cool. Problem is that people don't care. So now about the deck itself. I told you, the other decks are going to be faster. The first one is always the slower one because I talk about all the new things. So again, white art, very nice looking art, I have to say, and the foil are just in the right spots there, like in the blue spots. Gonti, Canny Acquisitor. For 2, 1 black, 1 green, 1 blue, is a 5/5 Etherborn Rogue that says spells you cast but don't own cost 1 less to cast. So there you go, stealing. And whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, look at the top card of that player's library, then exile it face down. You may play that card for as long as it remains exiled, and mana of any type can be spent to cast that spell. That is not bad. Now, what is kind of bad is that the commander is kind of expensive for what it is, and but it works for what it's supposed to work. So the spells that you cast but don't own cost 1 less to cast. So this deck is the commander is all about you're going to steal things from players. You need to do damage to them. You're going to steal things from players, and once you do, they remain exiled. You can cast them for as long as they remain exiled, which is good because it's not like until the end of turn. It's like they remain exiled. And you can use mana of any color and it will be 1 cheaper. And it's a 5/5, which is not bad. Again, it doesn't have any protective abilities or anything. So it's one of those commanders that is like, they made him expensive for the sake and gave him power, same as Juma. But you're not really going to swing that much with him unless you have a clear opening, because you lose the effect and the thing is kind of expensive, so it will just set you back. And then the co-commander or secondary commander is Felix 5 Boots. For 2, 1 black, 1 green, 1 blue, which is the same cost as the main commander, is the 5/4 Ooze Rogue, which is an interesting concept. And it's funny that it has 5 boots. It's not clear to me if it has 6 legs and only 5 boots. It has 5 legs, which, why 5? It's so much prone for jokes. It has Menace and War 2, which is something that you will expect more from a commander. If a creature you control dealing combat damage to a player causes a trigger ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. And this is another great example of these two things. They talk a similar language, like, English from the US and English from the UK is the same language, just a very different accent, because they will work with this deck, but they are trying to do completely different things. So, and you will see in a second. So the whole play here is you want to gain control of stuff. The whole theme of the deck is let's steal. But the commanders are doing their own thing, which is I think Felix fits better to a degree, because as you can see, like, spells that you cast anywhere other than your hand cost 2 less to cast. Whenever an opponent casts a spell from anywhere other than their hand, draw a card. Like, some of these cards are just here, but most of them, for each opponent, you may cast up to 1 target instant sorcery from the player graveyard without paying its mana cost. And if you do that, the trigger your commander is cheaper, right? So it's not giving you stuff for free. It's not that broken, but the stuff that it's giving you is cheaper. You have stuff such as Curse of the Swine, that's where we have all the pigs, Destiny Sphinx, the usual. The whole play here is that, see, like Mind's Dilation is the same play. You exile something from the top of the library. If it's a non-land card, you may cast it without paying its mana cost, which is great. It's kind of expensive, but once you have it on the field, it kind of does the same as your commander. It's just better because it's on their turn. And Gonti is again here, but in this case, just its normal version. You look at the top 4 cards of the target's opponent library, exile one of them, and put the rest on the top of the library. You may cast this card for as long as it remains exiled, and same thing, just cheaper and monocolor. So not as flexible for a commander. The whole play here is, yes, let's steal things. Now, funny is that the deck is interesting as it is. You may be seeing that some of the cards that are here are kind of interesting, and this deck is very annoying depending on who you're playing with. If you're playing with people that don't care that you touch their space, funny how this card was never printed. It was kind of expensive and always printed a lot. If you're playing against a player that, for example, I'm a player that doesn't like when people mill my library, because it's like, I don't think anyone likes it unless you're playing with a deck that benefits from it. But the reason why I say it is because it's like, can you not play with my deck, please? You know what I mean? And a lot of people don't like that you play with their deck. And because of that, this deck is kind of, it can make or break a group, because you're going to just summon a bunch of things for other people's libraries. And there was this episode of, I don't remember. I think it was one episode of Shuffle Up and Play where someone was playing with a deck that was all about playing with other people's cards. Was this lady that I can't remember the name? That cosplays as Nisa, I think, or not. Well, I can't remember the name of the lady, but she was playing with a commander from Dungeons and Dragons. That is this. I can't remember that ball with eyes. And it was all about playing with other people's decks. And people were like, oh man, because every time you play with other people's cards, they get like, oh, I want to play with my card again, because Commander is a very sandcastle thing. You do your own, and then people fight each other. It's like when you play Age of Empires 2 with your friends, and you're like, okay, so let's everyone get until age 4, or like, let's give us all 20 minutes, and after 20 minutes, we can kill each other, because you want to build and then go, right? And it's funny, I just stopped here because the Mimoplasm is one of the first commanders, if not the first commander, one of the first, because it was 3, from the first PreCons. And now it's here as just another card. You can, if you want, you can switch this card, which ironically is Ooze, same as Felix 5 Boots. So, but the effect doesn't, it only applies once, and the other cards don't support it, so it's kind of... But it's funny how the power creep goes. That card was the commander, and I was like, ooh, the commander is kind of thing. And now it's just like, it's another card in the 99, we don't care. So, in their defense, 10 years passed, right? So, well, this is the reason why you have Eldrazi here. So, see, like when you cast this spell, target opponent exiles the top 4 cards of library, then you may pay a number of land cards from their own exile onto the battlefield under your control. So you will play with other people's decks. Now, why do I say that the commanders, both the main commander and the secondary commander, are not quite there? Because you may be looking at these cards and thinking, well, most of this deck, if not, all of it, some cards are better than others, obviously, but like all the theme of the deck is like play with exile things from your opponents and then play with those. Some of the cards tell you until the end of the turn, and some of the cards tell you as long as it is exiled, you can use it, which is very good. And also you have a bunch of creatures that can be blocked, and the reason for that is to trigger your commander, because when you do combat damage, it gets triggered, right? So that's why it has all these weird creatures that can be blocked. Even creatures with no color, which is great for things that give you protection from a color or something like that. So even cards with flying, they just fit right in there perfectly. So no problem with that. My problem with this is, as you will realize very soon, you saw the deck, right? I didn't stop for every card because, I mean, we don't want this video to be even longer than it's already going to be. I am infamous for that. But the cards kind of are doing their own thing. And then you have these two guys here being like, hey, if you do damage, I can go steal things. Like, well, yes, but you have like what, like 5 cards that say this creature can be blocked or that have flying, so you can go over and do the damage. For a commander, that is kind of expensive. And then the secondary commander, it's almost asking for his own deck. It's like, if a creature you control didn't combat damage to a player, it causes the trigger ability of a permanent you control to trigger, which triggers an additional time. That is good if they are both at the same time, because it says that when you do combat damage, it triggers, so it will trigger an additional time, so you will mill more, well, it's kind of milling. You will exile more things from them, and you can use it. So these two together, again, they kind of work very good together. Alone, though, as commanders, like the one that you have as your main thing, they are okay. And Felix 5 Boots, it's nice to be with this guy, but it's actually kind of interesting to have as its own thing, because things trigger. So, you know, actually, if you want to go for this one because the theme is good, I actually think this is the one that is more thematically correct. Try to run it with both commanders, with Felix and with Gonti, and see which one you prefer. Because the deck kind of goes both ways, because they are kind of just supporting the rest of the cards. And you may be thinking, well, that's how a commander works. Like, well, it depends. Normally, most commander decks is like, I have my commander and everything goes around my commander. Those two, what I feel is, I have my deck, and the commanders are there like, yay, you go, girl. Which, okay, but you know what I mean? It's not the craziest combo. Now, to talk about combos, let's talk about the tribal deck. Well, you can argue to a degree that the land thing is tribal, at least the secondary commander. Kiri is tribal for plants and treefolk and all that. And this is not tribal, this is about a theme of stealing, but this is tribal, a weird tribal, if I may say so. This is Olivia, which is weird, because Olivia is not in a vampire deck, which is weird. We are used to just seeing vampires in vampire decks, so what is that? Take a bite into crime. And that's because, get it? She's a vampire. Because the deck doesn't have vampire mechanisms or mechanics. So yeah, as usual, this time we have worse tokens, worse counters, because we have some 3+1+1 and 3 whatever. So I guess they're supposed to be treasure counters or something, I guess. And then for the magic envelope, we have the usual suspects. So the box that you already know. What's in the box? What's in the box is, well, the booster sample and this thing that sadly, for better or worse, no one cares about. Now let's see what's in the collector booster sample, for the sake of since we have it. Ooh, Kairvek the Punisher. This is the one-hit poster style. Again, it's okay, but it doesn't feel like a magic card. I feel it's only okay for legendary creatures, because if it's your commander, it can be in any style and it's whatever. But for cards in 99, not so much. And then a newspaper style, which whenever you commit a crime, exile up to 1 target black card from your graveyard and copy it. You may cast a copy. If you do, you lose 2 life. Not crazy, but it's a living. It's honest living. So the insert. We do love inserts in this channel, so same logic. The co-commander goes in the explaining how the deck works, which this also shows you that, you know, things are weird. Like they used to have Remember that I commented this in multiple videos? Like, normally a commander deck has 2 arts for the commander, the one in the card and the one in the box. And sometimes they have 3, the one in the card, the one in the box, and the one in the deck box and in the manual. And it was like, why do you ask 3 times the art? Like, you ask 3 and then you pick the one that you like the most and the others fill the space. Now they don't. They give more relevance to the secondary commander when they put it here for like, let's play the deck. It's kind of confusing that they put the secondary commander in the back while they explain basically how your commander works. But then again, when you shift it, it talks about the main commander. So I guess if you only have 2 drawings, I need to put the commander here. This is all about Olivia, Opulent Outlaw, enraged by her ruined wedding and failing attempt to usurp all vampiric power. This is interesting because this is kind of... Wait, read it if you want. Pause it, read it. This is, this is a main character in one of Magic's main sets, which is Crimson Vow. And here she is, relegated to a commander deck, which is not bad. I mean, commander is the most popular format after all. But if you want to know her story, well, buy the commander deck. It's not in the main set, unless we go back to Innistrad. But apparently, and this is the thing that Wizards wanted to do. Since the Omen paths exist, they don't really need to respect the rules of the multiverse anymore. Like, it's not only the planeswalkers that can travel, any legendary creature can travel. And that's why Thunder Junction is pretty much just the usual suspects set, where you have all the bad guys dressed as cowboys because, yeah. So let's see the cards and let's try to guess. I mean, although the theme is pretty clear in the box. So Mercenary, Treasure, Inkling, flashbacks from Inklings, Treasure, Mercenary, Treasure, Rogue, the Monarch, Rat, Blood, because vampires, Eldrazi again, a Clue, which is a very nice looking clue, I have to say, is Thunder Junction, alright, Assassin, Food, and then the bounties. Let's see the bounties. Bounty, Squeakers the Slide. Beginning of the end step, if a legendary creature you control attacked on this turn, collect your reward. Ariana Wrecking Ball. At the beginning of your end step, if you committed a crime this turn, collect your reward. Targeting opponents, anything they control and or cards in the graveyard is a crime. And Lisa, Sterling Collector. At the beginning of your end step, if the player with the most cards in hand or tied for the most cards as the turn began was dealt combat damage this turn, collect your reward. Again, interesting concepts. Sadly, in a world that doesn't care for this type of game. Now, let's check the commanders. Again, this card is one of... I mean, I think all of them are very nice looking. So one thing I have to commend to Wizards and their artists is that, yeah, well, we don't have a plastic card anymore, which, Wizards, please. But the white art commanders are all beautiful. That's something... Well, at least the 3 we have so far. We need to talk about that in a second. And Olivia, Opulent Outlaw, Opulence. She owns everything. Is a one red, one white, one black legendary creature, Vampire Assassin. It is a 3/3 and has flying and lifelink. Whenever one or more outlaws you control deal combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. Assassins, mercenaries, pirates, rogues, and warlocks are outlaws. So basically everything that is bad. And then if you pay 3 and sacrifice 2 treasures, you put 2+1/+1 counters on each creature you control. Activate only as a sorcery. Which, it's good, but at the same time is expensive as hell, because you need to pay 3 and 2 treasures, which is the same as paying 5. I mean, yes, you're putting 2+1/+1s on every creature you control, but yikes. So that's Olivia. As you can see, it's all about the outlaws and creating treasure tokens. And you have Vihan, Goldwalker, which, sorry, I have to do this. Vihan Goldwalker is a red, white, black dwarf warlock, which, okay, is a 3/3 that says other outlaws you control have vigilance and haste. And it says what are outlaws. And then at the beginning of combat on your turn, you may have treasures you control become 3/3 construct assassin artifact creatures in addition to the other types until the end of turn. Once again, because apparently they do this by themes, by waves, I guess it depends on the team that designs the decks, right? So it happens. Because on Ixalan and so on Call of Manor, you had a bunch of commanders and secondary commanders that don't necessarily work well together, but they were competing for different things. Here, they are doing different things, but if they are both on the battlefield at the same time, they actually work pretty well together, which is a theme, as you can see. Now, sadly, they don't have partner, otherwise this would be broken as hell. So, not bad, but both share the same theme, so that's at least good, which is Outlaws you control. The only thing is that Olivia will give you treasures, and if you want to go full opulence and pay 5 to put 2+1/+1s on everything, I guess, even though it's not, the best of effects, really. At least she has flying and lifelink, so there's that. She counts as an outlaw because she's an assassin, so she counts for her own effect, and that's good. She gets you treasure tokens. Plus, it says 1 or more, so you only create 1, right? It doesn't matter, as long as she can attack because she has flying, and that works. And for Vihan, you get vigilance and haste to everything, which is not bad at all. And then the treasures you have become 3/3s. Now the problem is that it gives you a cool effect for the outlaws, but it doesn't give you the treasures. So yeah, the ideal thing is to have both in here. Now, let's see the rest of the deck. Where is Carmen Sandiego? Where is the value here? Where is the value in terms of gameplay? If you want to see how much these cards are valued by my timings, it's more useful. You should just look at the cards on Card Market or something, because yeah. So Will of the Council. Ooh, yikes! I never like Will of the Council. It's a funny thing, but I don't like my destiny being decided by the other players. Heliod's Intervention. Destroy exile artifacts. This player gains twice X life. Angelic Sellsword. We Ride at Dawn. One of the new cards. Legendary creature spells you cast have Convoke, which is great, but this is not a legendary tribal. So, whenever your commander attacks, create a 1/1 red mercenary creature token with tap. That creature you control gets +1/+0 until the end of turn. Activate only the sorcery. It's a shame because this card with a legendary effect, you will think, well, this goes beautifully in another commander PreCon, which is the one from the Hada, which is a legendary tribal. Same colors, Mardu as well. Problem is that she is a planeswalker, so she can attack. Therefore, the second part of the card is useless. I believe that they put that in there thinking about that card. Massacre Girl is here, even though she was just in the previous set, so Feign the Broker. Again, this deck is kind of weird. It's full of bad guys, so if you like the bad guy theme, I guess this is one, because basically the themes are nature, which, okay. Technically it's the Mandalorian, the theme, but it's nature and plants, which, I like cactus, so cacti, right? But And then stealing, and this is the bad guys. Now, the warlocks, they put warlocks here because they were like, let's see all the creature types that we have that are bad guys, and warlocks are basically evil wizards most of the time. So yeah, but most of them don't really match with the theme. So if you need to remove cards, you're likely going to remove the warlocks, even though the co-commander is a warlock. But it counts for the theme, and his effects actually are good. Most of the others, not so much. But you have a bunch of vampire things: vampire assassin, vampire rogue, and since Olivia is a vampire, you can kind of build a deck around her of vampires, and most of those vampires are going to be, you have some warlocks here, but most of those vampires are going to be assassins or rogues. You have a bunch of warriors and stuff like that. If you go to Ixalan, you have a bunch of vampire pirates. Actually, no, wait, they are conquistadors. So yeah, it's kind of a difficult thing to try to do a vampire tribal that is also outlaw tribal. They tried, and the theme is kind of there, and that's kind of what pains me more about this deck. This deck is fun in the same way that the Doctor Who deck for the villains feels fun, which is if you really are see another legendary commander that is here chilling. That's why there is an Inkling. I was like, Inklings here? Don't tell me that the Demagogue is here. I was like, yep. So Queen Marquesa or Marchesa, another legendary commander, and it's sitting here. I mean, you can use her as the commander. She has the color identity. So will it work though? You will command the Monarch at the beginning of your upkeep. If an opponent is the Monarch, create an assassin. Nah, it will be pointless with the rest of the deck. Although that's kind of how the deck feels. And remember when I told you at the beginning that my two main reasons for buying a PreCon are either I like the theme mechanically or I like the theme in terms of theme. So, oh, it's a deck of ninjas? Oh, I'm going to buy that deck. It's a deck of mechas? Oh, I'm going to buy that deck, right? Like, because the flesh is weak, right? So sometimes you're just like, oh, I like warriors, I like knights, I like elves, or whatever, like vampires, and you just buy it. And technically, in those cases, you are doing a 2 for the price of 1, which is if it's vampires. It's a tribal vampire thing. So the mechanic is the theme, which is vampires. A lot of, not all of them, but like a big percentage of like vampire decks or warrior decks, etc. The mechanic is the tribalism, or sorry, typalism, as they make us say now. So, you get what you get. Here, they kind of try to eat their cake and have it too, or have their cake and eat it too. I don't know which one is the correct way of saying it. I am scared of that phrase, since I know that there is a correct way of saying it that the other way identifies you as the Unabomber, so I don't know. But if you know what I'm talking about, just watch the Manhunt, the Unabomber series, or just read about the Unabomber. I don't know why I'm mentioning the Unabomber in a Magic the Gathering video, but because we're a cultured channel. We talk about history, facts, lore, geek stuff, like and subscribe. This is the type of channel that you want. I try to do some hypnotism at the same time. I try to just go close to the microphone and say like and subscribe, like and subscribe. You see, Lightning Greaves, this thing was very difficult to run by, and now it's in almost every commander deck. It's like, thank you, I guess. You have Impulsive Pilferer, you don't have the Nimble Pilferer, and at the same time, you don't have Dockside Starchnist, so bam, 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 bam. Which is a shame, because it really feels like that thing fits in here like a glove. But I mean, if you have the money, get it, right? Well, basically what I was saying is that the problem here is that the theme is the mechanic, and is not a very strong theme, or it's not a very strong theme as a mechanic, which is a shame, because having the Outlaws theme is actually very flexible, in the sense that you saying that everything that is an outlaw gets whatever is actually very interesting, because outlaws are assassins, mercenaries, pirates, rogues, and warlocks. So that's a bunch of cards from Magic the Gathering's history. Like, you can do a bunch of things. The problem is that the only cards that use the outlaw mechanic are in Outlaws of Thunder Junction. So evidently, you don't have that much power punching here. And this is the deck. If you notice, by the way, every PreCon set always has at least one, normally only one, or at least one deck that is the deck of the set theme, which is, for example, on how do you call it? Murders at Call of Manor. The theme was like the deck that pushes more the thing is the whole suspect and accusation deck. The others kind of fit on the theme, on other themes, but they are not on top of the new mechanic as much as that deck. Same thing with on Fallout. There is the mutant one that is all about rat counters. The others are kind of, energy counters, etc. Is like things that are already there. Here is similar. You have deserts, which is not a new thing. I mean, there are deserts, and then the deck kind of ignores the deserts. You have stealing things, which is a theme because of the set, but it's not a new mechanical theme. And you have outlaws as a new mechanic. It's not really a mechanic. It's just a class for cards, and it feels weak, which is my problem with this, because Olivia feels like you could do a lot more with her, and you don't really. I mean, you can, but you really need to renew the deck to a degree, because a lot of your outlaws are not that powerful, and sadly, for better or worse, the outlaws don't work that well together within amongst them, right? Like, only these two cards kind of aggregate them, unless you really skew the balance in one way. Like, oh yeah, it's outlaws, but most of my deck is an assassin tribal. It's like, okay, that works because you have an assassin tribal, and then you have your commander doing some extra bonus stuff. Or like, it's a vampire assassin, vampire rogue, vampire thing, right? You do like a 2 for the price of 1. If you go that way, you can salvage it. But if not, it's not a bad deck, but it really feels like, similar to this one. It's like the deck is doing, this one was like the deck was doing a thing, and then the commanders were just sitting there and looking at it and trying to help. Here is like the commander is like, we're going to build a house, and then the rest of the deck is like, whatever, we just want tents. Like, it's a bunch of assassins and rogues and warlocks. They do their thing. They don't necessarily have synergies amongst them, which is part of the problem. And talking about synergies, the last deck, which is Quick Draw. By the way, don't forget, at the end, I'm going to like compare them and talk about like, rankings and preferences and all that. So Quick Draw is what many consider the best deck of this collection. And for a lot of people, is the only deck of this collection, because as you can see, these decks are okay, or like from meh to okay, but they don't bubble anything on you, like just okay. This one is different. So you have here this lady here that really reminds me of an actress, but I can't remember the name. And again, the commander is Stella Lee, wild card, and is an is it deck. Or is it? Ha 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 ha! Pam pam pam. So let's see what's up in here. Let's see the phrase. The Master Blaster Spellcaster. There you go. That's what I want to see. Puns and rhymes and colorful things. So, as usual, same info with the others. At least this one has +1/+1s. The only thing that I can assume for the Olivia one is that it has those things because they count as treasure tokens, I guess. So that's the reason. But very lackluster, the tokens here, which also kind of tells you how flexible the decks are in terms of like, not tokens, but then the counters. Again, life counter, boring as everything. Like, it could at least have the cactus on it. It doesn't even have the cactus, just the most boring thing ever. And the sample one, the box, with the same art as, well, the box, the main box. Let me remove this from here. And let's see the sample. Again, don't ever buy this for the sample packs because it's whatever. Ooh, Satoru the Infiltrator. Weird art, but whatever. So, legendary creature, human ninja rogue. Menace, whenever Satoru the Infiltrator and/or one or more other non-token creatures into the battlefield under your control, if none of them were cast or no mana was spent to cast them, draw a card, which, okay. And then Savage Smash in newspaper style. Okay, not bad. Again, not great. This is just for you to be like, oh, that's crazy, and they're trying to get you to buy collector boosters, man. Don't do it. Let's see the insert. The co-commander is here. The secondary commander is here. It's all about huge turn. It's spellcasters or slingcaster or whatever it said on the box. And there it is that for a reason. So you have the story here for Stella Lee. Wild card. If you want to read it, pause it. Where does she come from? She's from Thunder Junction. Yeah, she... Well, or not. They are not saying from where she is. She walking Thunder Junction and is finding things in Thunder Junction, but let's see. Now, why all the fuss about this deck? Well, my dear viewer, it's not so much because of the deck, I will tell you. It's because of the commander. And we will see in a second. This is a placeholder card. Now the tokens, and let's see if you can tell what the deck does by looking at the tokens. Bird Illusion, Elemental, so is it alright? An Ape, which is not very easy, a Shark, a Drake, a Artifact Soldier, a Boar, another Drake, Elemental, Soldier, Dragon Elemental, Bird Illusion, another Dragon Elemental, and a Treasure. So all over the place, a lot of illusions and elements. It makes sense. It's an Izzet Spellslinger deck. Risa Blades Lee, which is she family of the commander, Stella Lee and Risa Lee. At the beginning of your end step, if you cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn while you had 2 or more instant and or sorcery cards in your graveyard, collect your reward. Sleepy Sovka. At the beginning of your end step, if you cast no spells this turn, collect your reward. And Miron, or Miron, I guess it's Miron, although that looks like an accent, so it can be Miron. But I'm just going full Spanish. I mean, it is the Wild Wild West, so half of it is Mexico. So Miron Tillas Jr., at the beginning of your end step, if the nearest opponent to your left as the turn began was dealt combat damage this turn, collect your reward. Okay, again, as is the theme so far. Not bad ideas, but... Now, the commander and the co-commander. Stella Lee, wild card. I think, ironically, even though this is the best commander, it's not the prettiest card. Again, this is subjective, but the card is kind of boring compared to the other 3 that are all like epic or cool or whatever. This one is like, it's nice. Like, nothing against the artist, don't get me wrong. The art is not ugly. It's just, it's not super crazy. But I guess that's the point. She's just very fast. Whenever you cast, so is an Izzet for 1 blue, 1 red, 2/4 human rogue that says, whenever you cast your second spell each turn, exile the top card of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play that card, which by itself, it's okay. It's a good effect, which means that second spell you cast, you exile a card, and by the end of your next turn, you may play it. So if it's a land, you get a free land, I guess. And if it's not, well, you can use it. If not, well, it goes away. What is getting people crazy all over the place is the second effect. And let's take this as a quiz for whether your advanced Magic the Gathering skills are sharp enough. So, pam, 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 pam. If you tap her, copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. Activate only if you have cast 3 or more spells this turn. Why I say that this is like a level check for Magic players? Because if you look at it, you just tap it, and yes, it says only if you cast 3 or more spells this turn, which is not that difficult to do in an Izzet deck. But it just says copy, and you copy an instant sorcery spell you control, and you may choose new targets for the copy. The whole craziness about this card is that if the spell you're copying is a spell that untaps you, you can literally go infinite with pretty much any untap spell that you cast, because you will just tap on tap, tap on tap, tap on tap, and keep copying it. And for every effect that those cards have, you may benefit from it, being grabbing your entire library or doing whatever. You can do a lot of crazy things here. So that's all the craziness about the commander, not even the first effect, which is okay, and will trigger if you do the second on infinite mode, but it's all about the second. Now, that means that the co-commander, sadly, is on the shadows. Now, one thing that I want you to notice is that if you look at the card, Ares, Roar of the Storm, is not necessarily the same art that you have on the insert. So nothing against the co-commander, but weird nonetheless. So Ares, Roar of the Storm is an elemental warlock that costs 8, one blue, one red, and is a 4/4. And it says, this spell costs 2 less to cast for each different mana value among instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard. So likely this is going to be a lot cheaper than it looks. It has flying and prowess. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, create a 4/4 red dragon elemental creature token with flying and prowess. Now, this is not a bad commander by any means. Problem is that this thing is an infinite engine, or infinity engine. So yeah, this is not bad. This is kind of a default commander for a spellslinger deck. It's like, well, it gets cheaper if you have a bunch of stuff in your graveyard. If you have instant or sorceries. Then it has prowess, which is very good, and you can create a bunch of dragons every time you cast your second spell, right? So each turn you can create a new dragon, and it has flying and prowess. So choo-choo train, right? So again, not a bad commander, not that commander. The problem is that the deck is not bad. The deck is a spellslinger deck. It kind of works. This is, if it works, don't change it. Now this is funny because, as I said, the only one that is Thunder Junction alike is the Olivia one, because it has a theme from the set. The other ones are just things that are here. So you have a bunch of mages, right? So as you can expect from an Izzet deck, whenever you cast a copy, you cast or copy an instant, you draw a card, which is great. Return things from to the owner's hand, so you got some removal. You got some cards that don't make any sense. Midnight Clock is always here, of course. Hot the Gene is always great for spellslingers decks because it powers is equal to the number of cards in your graveyard, and instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. This thing is dramatic when I play with it in a standard. Drink 2 times, so again, is blue and red, right? So is it not much that you can do that goes wrong with this? It just works. You have some legendary creatures here that have the same logic. If you have stuff in your graveyard, it gets cheaper. It has Ward 8, which is like, sorry, what? And then whenever you cast, again, it costs 8 less if you have 8. So this is a late stage card. Whenever you cast or copy an instant sorcery spell, target creature has base power and toughness 8/8 until the end of turn, which is kind of broken if you look at your commander. So the whole theme here is this deck is not bad. This deck is simple as it can get. It has some new cards, a lot of old cards, classic Izzet cards from. See, this is actually the card from the insert. You have a bunch of, classic Izzet cards. Some of them make sense to be here. Some of them, like this one, not so much. This actually is a card to put into the timey-wimey deck. Not so much in here. Because, the whole idea of the deck and what the deck is trying to do is to give you mechanisms to Nick Parum, another legendary commander that is here. Kind of the theme, like the last commander decks, the sets that we open so far, they kind of have a theme in terms of like cards that they add. For example, Doctor Who was like, oh, we have great lands. Like, okay, amazing. Then Ixalan was like, oh, we have the archetypes from Ixalan, but the whole game here is that we are trying to do like powerful decks. Like, okay, interesting, cool, and very like to the point decks. Carl of Manor was all about, hey, we have some crazy reprints here. Ixalan also had some crazy reprints, but we have these themes, and the themes kind of work, and most of them are somewhat related. It's like, okay, cool. Here, one of the themes that seems to be going on with the 99 is that all the decks have inside of them legendary commanders from the past that they used to be, or they still are, strong commanders that people use. And now they are just sitting there in the 99, which shows you how far we've come. And again, a bunch of expensive cards you're supposed to cast. Again, the whole point of this deck, if you look at it, what the cards do, the effects, the whole, it has a bunch of flashback. It has some cards with suspend. It has a lot of delve. Why? Because what this deck is wanting you to do is to use those 3 spells, right? Is to call those 3 spells so that you trigger your secondary commander ability so that you can go with it. And however, you don't have, at least that I remember, you don't have any infinity pieces to go here with your commander. So your commander can't go super infinite with some deck. It works. The deck works. I think is the fastest, funniest deck to play with. But it's not using the commander to its fullest. If you look online, you will see a bunch of people recommending to upgrade this deck. Now, in this channel, we normally don't talk about the upgrades of cards for 2 reasons. One, I don't consider myself smart enough to recommend you super duper upgrades and stuff like that. But like, I mean, any other person is likely a better teacher to you than me for these things. And second, I really am an enjoyer, and what I try to analyze here is the board game that is a PreCon set, right? So what do you get when you buy it as this? How much can you do with it? And I guess this is a good transition to let's compare the decks. So, because it's relevant to the analysis of this deck. So you have Stella Lee, Olivia, Gonti, and the Mandalorian, Yuma. So the 4 decks from Thunder Junction. Mathematically, and in terms of fun and upgradability and all that, the best deck without a doubt is the one from Stella Lee. That's for sure. So best deck, if you want to upgrade it, there's a lot of conversation online about this commander becoming a crazy commander for CDH, for competitive commander. And I can see why. There's a lot of things that you can do with this that, plus use one of the most beloved combinations in Magic the Gathering, which is Izzet, and uses blue. So you can, blue is part of Izzet, right? So like blue in competitive commander is, they always say that the 2 strongest colors in commander are white, I wish. Wizards is trying to make it white, but it's not, is black and blue. And that makes sense. I mean, blue is don't let the others play, and black is I will give you power, and normally in return I ask you for life, which when you have 20 life is inconvenient, but when you have 40 life is free real estate, because the only life point that matters is the last one. So those 2 colors are normally the most powerful because you can abuse them, and then the other colors are there to supply specific needs, like red for direct damage, green for ramp, and white for, I guess, control and board wiping. Now, it doesn't mean that, again, like, just to be clear, blue and black are not my favorite colors in Magic the Gathering, so I'm not like, the best colors, like, no. But that's kind of the meta, right? So because of that, this card, the potential this card has, and the deck itself, like, let's talk about the deck. It's not only the commander. The deck is good. The deck works very well with the commander. It doesn't go crazy. So what's happening is that if you buy this deck, like if you listen to me and you're like, oh, he said that the best deck is this one, I'm buying this one, and then you play it and you're like, well, I mean, I didn't win right away. I didn't, I didn't feel like I'm Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet. It's like, well, there's a reason for that. The deck is good, but it's not the Messiah. The deck is good. It works with the commander. You will likely use more the first spell or the first ability than the second, because the second is only if you cast 3 or more spells this turn, while the first one is the second spell each turn. So the deck will try to get you to do as many spells per turn as possible. And remember that the ramp you have is blue-red ramp, which is a type of ramp, right? So And a lot of these spells are crazy expensive, although they have ways to be cheated out into play, right? So I think it's the funniest or like most entertaining deck to play with, but it's kind of a challenging deck compared to the others in the sense that you need to be on top of your, wizard game to have these properly used. Now the others, well, if I had to compare them, let's talk about fun, which is subjective. So this is fun in my eyes. I think this is right, straightforward, pretty simple. I think again, this is the one that you can have most fun with. Then I think depending on the type of person you are, Gonti is going to be fun, and then these two, actually not like this maybe, but I was almost about to do this, but it's more like this. I don't know. Olivia is not ultra fun because the deck feels kind of disconnected from itself. Is okay. But the problem is that Juma is just too slow. The deck is too slow. It just feels very grindy. So yeah, that's why I guess this is less fun. So in terms of fun, this will be the order from the one that I enjoy the most, the one I think people are going to enjoy the less. In terms of power, well, that's a doozy. It's kind of tied to fun, really, but it's by the way, this is not a preference. It's just that they occupy the same space, but I don't want to do this or something. But so it will be something like this. Again, Juma is not that it's not powerful. It's just that it's going to take you a long time to get where you want to get, and that kills the power. Something like this. Again, this can be like this. Like this doesn't mean that this is better than this one. They are the same level. So in terms of power, I will rank them like this. In terms of upgradability, well, that's an interesting one. This, of course, because the commander, blah, 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 we already know the story, right? Now, in terms of what can you do with this, it depends on what you want to upgrade. If you want to upgrade the deck, which not necessarily includes the commander, this, and then, you have the second commander is actually a good piece to build another deck with or something like that. And then these two are tied for I guess, because they both feel like, I need to put you a lot of stuff on top so that you start working. This because it's slow, but this because it really feels disconnected. Again, this is not a bad deck. It just feels, for my standards, it just feels like, why are we doing, right? Like, why are we still here? Just to suffer? Every night I can feel my leg, my arm, maybe my fingers, the body I lost, even the comrades I lost, won't stop hurting. Like, it's like they are still there. So, please tell me if you got that reference. Again, I like the commander. I actually like the card a lot. I think it's the prettiest one of them all. It just feels like the commander is doing something and the deck is doing something else. And it's like because, they are outlaws, sure, but they don't. And I guess that's thematically correct. It's a band of thugs. They work together, but they don't work together. So, they are there to kill the same guy or something, or to steal the same thing, but they are not a team. So, I guess that's thematically on point, I guess. And yes, plants are slow, so, right on the money. So, I guess that. In terms of, if this is your first Magic the Gathering deck ever, I will keep the order more or less the same, I will say. And if you're an established player, more or less the same as well. I think this is pretty much the summary of this. But again, this distance, really, it's not that this deck is that good. Let me make that clear. This deck is not the Messiah. It's not the craziest deck ever. This deck is okay. The commander is very good if you want to cheese out the thing. The problem is that these decks fail at multiple points. Not catastrophically. So it's not like, I don't know, imagine that you bought your deck and you're watching the review and you're like, oh, but I actually enjoy my deck. I had fun in my Friday night. I'm not saying you didn't have. I played with all of them. I had fun with them. I actually won with some of them. It's not impossible. Now, depending on what you value on a deck, you may not get it, and you're likely to get it more from other decks from the past. For example, and with this, I promise you, we will end this torment that is listening to my voice. If you want a deck that is cohesive, this feels cohesive. This kind of feels cohesive. This kind of feels cohesive, and this kind of feels cohesive. But these three are in the same level, right? These three are the same thing, which is the commander is doing something, the deck is doing something that is kind of related to it, but it's not a crazy synergy. Mind you, this is not a crazy synergy, but it's a synergy of blue-red. Basically, everything works because it's the spells and spells that chain each other and stuff like that. So it's just about if you cast spells. So that's all that matters. That's why it's easy to combo it. It's easy to chain it, and that's why the deck feels like it works so well. But these ones, again, it's all about stealing. Cool. Your commander steals and does it for cheaper, but you need to do combat damage. So because of that, we put some creatures that are unblockable. It's like, oh, yes, thank you, I guess. The commander is too expensive for what it is. Then the co-commander is trying to actually do something interesting, but it's kind of another deck. I don't know what is there. And half of the deck is devoted to this guy, and half of the deck is devoted to that one. They kind of work together, but not that well. So it feels like you have a half-assed deck instead of having a good deck. Then for Yuma, it's kind of the same. Like, oh, spec costs one less for lands. So the deck wants you to have a bunch of lands so that you send them to the graveyard. But it doesn't have the ramp to get you that amount of crazy land that fast so that this becomes a super viable thing. Then again, it's a commander that costs 5 red, 1 green, 1 white. Yes, it says that it costs 1 less for each land in your graveyard, but the lands in your graveyard, you send them there. The ones that are already there only make him cheaper, don't trigger him. He only gets triggered when you send stuff to the graveyard. So for that, actually, the co-commander is more interesting. So of all of them, even though all of them work pretty nice with their co-commanders, the only one that I will be like, can this please be partner? It will be this one with Kirsi or Kiri or whatever. Because, yeah, just make them do something. Plus, he's carrying something. If he was carrying Kiri, that would be perfect. And Olivia is kind of the same. It's like, oh yeah, Olivia, if you do damage with Outlaws, you get treasures. Like, great, you're going to do damage with her, and then the other guys are kind of there. Like, there is no synergy. There is no greater mission. It's just Olivia and a band of thugs that creates treasures. Yuma and a bunch of trees that don't grow fast enough, which I guess it's okay, it's a desert, and Gonti that wants you to do damage to steal stuff, but actually most of the cards steal stuff on their own, so it's kind of whatever. So see what I mean? It's like they are there, but they are not in their deck. They being in their deck, they can not be in their deck, and the deck will work pretty much the same. And that to me is It's like, then why are you the commander of your deck? What value are you bringing? Like, yes, they are synergistic with the decks to a degree, but it's not, it's not. Normally, the way most people build a commander deck is either around a commander or around a mechanic. And these three in particular don't feel like they are built around the commander. This one doesn't feel that the deck is built around the commander, but it just feels like it was built around a mechanic and the commander fits the mechanic. These three feels like, there was a mechanic, they build cards that touch that mechanic, and the deck is kind of trying to keep up with whatever it is that they are trying to do, but they are doing something else. So the deck of Gonti doesn't really need Gonti. Like, they are independent. The deck of Olivia, benefits from Olivia, but it's just really a band of thugs and of thugs, and Juma is just whatever, right? So in terms of like synergy and like if it makes sense, literally is like these three and then these. So that's kind of the summary. And again, personal preference, it will be something like this. If you want me to be like, to not cheat and do like, oh yeah, they are the same, well, I guess this will be my personal preference. Still Ali, Gonti, Olivia, and then Yuma. And this was a review. I tried to do it faster this time, still more than an hour and a half. But let me know down below what you think about it. And if you agree, if you don't, if you have one of these decks and you don't agree with what I said, please let me know. I love to debate. And as usual, I hope to see you next time on PAX and Recreation. Yeehaw! See you next time on Thunder Junction. Bye!